What's up, guys? My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and I am your host for the Oversharing podcast with Live the Dream Media. Well, I'm glad you're laughing. What's up, guys? Hit him, David. I am back. Welcome to week 4 of the Oversharing podcast. My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and we are here with the lovely Shilo Anderson today. We are skipping over the mini-sode. We're getting right to it. We're going to give her the intro that she deserves and get right to it, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. This week's guest is what I like to call a jack of all trades, which I say you'll understand. I love that about you because I think people, you don't seem like you have ADHD. I seem like I have ADHD, but I always tell people, jack of all trades, ADHD.
Yeah, I probably do.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we're kindred spirits.
Yes, it works. It
we
works
do all
for
the
us.
things. Yeah.
She's part of the Tucson Birth Network, where she supports families through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. She owns her own company where she creates amazing skincare essentials like beef tallow, eye creams, magnesium sprays, and so much more. She's a mother and a doula. She is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited to have her here. Please welcome to the Oversharing podcast, Shilo Anderson.
I'm excited to be here.
That was way better. I like the mini-sodes, but I think we're just going to have to kick off with the guests. Yeah.
I think we have a lot to talk about. When you sent me the outline, I was like, oh.
That happened last week.
We're not going to get through all of this, but okay.
That was a learning curve last week. But that's a good thing because then that means if we don't get through things, I could just schedule you for the next one.
Sounds good.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your story, as long or as short as you want to make it.
Okay.
I do have to start off saying, I know we talked a little bit before, but I remember you used to work at SWAT.
Yes.
Okay, so when I worked at Psycho, that's what I was getting ready to. I was like, I'm going to stop talking right now. But I was like, I remember a few girls, including Becca. Did you work with Becca at SWAT?
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember this photo shoot very vividly of you, all the trainers. Becca was in there, and I was like, these are some bad bitches. Yeah. You guys looked so intimidating. And part of me was like, I could never look like them. They look amazing.
No.
And I still don't, but I still think it was that was my first intro to you.
Yeah.
And I started following you, and then the evolution with everything else began.
Yeah. I was a personal trainer in a past life, you know. I've done all the things, so.
You'll keep doing all the things.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
April 25th.
Dude, what the heck?
I
Wait,
know.
have we talked about this?
No.
Okay, so my birthday's on 4/20.
Yeah, my sister's is too.
I'm right on the cusp.
Yeah.
But I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm more Aries.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of Taurus in me, for
I'm
sure.
purebred Taurus.
Yeah. You're like,
I'm
don't
the
tell me
most
I can't.
stubborn person. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your story.
I'm a Tucson native.
Okay.
I was born at TMC. I've been here my whole entire life. My dad had a business here in town since '83, and he retired 8 years ago, but he's a chiropractor.
Okay, cool.
And I worked for him for about 9 years right out of high school. Didn't know what I wanted to do. They were pretty cool about just
take your
figure
time.
it out, take your time. I ended up buying a house when I was 19. I was like, I'm going to do real estate and do this. And then I hated real estate, but I did flip a few houses and did fine with that.
At 19?
Uh-huh.
Your interest rate was probably -800?
Maybe, I don't know. It was
What
low.
a dream.
Well, and the cool thing was my roommate paid my mortgage. She didn't know that.
Yeah.
She
was
worked
like, that's
it out.
the rent, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's
it was
amazing.
awesome. So I got married young to my high school sweetheart.
Oh.
We've been together since we were 16, but we've known each other since we were 13 or 14.
Okay, is this full on together from 16, or
No.
was there some hiccups
There
in
was
between?
some hiccups. There was some growing pains.
Yeah.
And but I think we took maybe a year accumulative off.
That's so cute. You don't hear about that often. So when people are like, I'm married to my high school sweetheart, I'm like, that's so cute.
It's not for the weak.
No.
It's freaking hard.
Imagine how many versions of yourself he's gotten and you've gotten.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Insane. So we got married when we were 22, got pregnant right away, not on purpose, and had Zephaniah the next year. So we'll be married 20 years next May.
Wow.
Which is insane.
That is
Because I feel too young to be
You're like, that's our 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, it's awesome. Then we had Zephaniah, and then we had Taya 3.5 years later, and then we had a vasectomy reversal baby 5 years after Taya.
So he did vasectomy and then reversed it, and then you guys had another baby.
Yeah, she's like our little miracle.
Wait. Hold up.
your
What?
horses.
A reverse, and it was a success?
It was a success. You know what's so interesting? She literally is our miracle because we were young. We were 20. I think I was 26 when I had my second, Taya. And, you're young. You don't know what's the future's going to hold. Our finances sucked.
2 girls and a boy?
Zephaniah was the boy,
Zephaniah,
Taya, and then
Taya,
Lennon.
okay, cool,
Lennon's a girl. We were freaking out. We're like, our marriage is a little rocky. Our finances are super rocky. I'm like, we can't have another kid.
baby.
Like, no way. So our deductible was met. I'm like, we had Taya in February. He got the vasectomy in October. I'm like, we're just done.
We're done.
Because I don't do birth control. I've never been on birth control. Like, I was raised like,
Just pay attention
it's
to your
probably not
cycle.
good for you.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And I didn't. And so I'm like, I don't want to get knocked up again.
Yeah. And I'm not getting surgery, so you're doing it.
Yeah, I just pushed 2 babies out of my vagina.
Yeah.
Like, you can go
You
through
can
some
do
stuff.
it.
Yeah, that's a funny story, too, when he got his vasectomy, because I'm, like, into all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
was, like, in his business. And
You're
the
like,
doctor's
"Let me
like,
see."
no, you need to sit over there. Like,
Behind the curtain. Behind
get
the
over
curtain.
there. Anyways, like, probably 2 years after he got the vasectomy, we both were like, oh, we
have
made a
another
mistake.
baby.
We
Yeah.
wanted 2 more, but we got 1, and she's the best.
Aw.
But the funny thing is, the best reversal doctor in the world is in Tucson. His name's Dr. Marks, and he's amazing. He's so cool.
Right here in the old Pueblo.
He invented the instrument, the Marks instrument they use for reversals.
Oh,
so it's like
wow.
a microsurgery. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And my poor husband has gotten his balls cut open.
So I know.
So he's
dudes.
gotten neutered 2 times.
Yeah, dudes are gonna wonder what the pain threshold is. You know, most guys.
I mean,
I might be one of them. Not to knock that having a
Wait,
child is
have
like
you
the
already,
most crazy thing.
did you get neutered yet?
No, I have not. But it's been,
A conversation?
Yeah, I think it, and
Dude,
anybody
you're
at our
in
age.
and out of the freaking hospital room. Quit being a pansy.
Snip, snap,
You'll
snip,
be
snap. I need to
fine.
pull up that clip on The Office of Michael. Snip, snap, snip, snap.
I'm dead.
I mean, I can't speak for him, and I also have had 3 natural childbirths. So
I don't
I'm
think
like,
it hurts more than childbirth. I'll tell you
Really?
that right now.
Oh,
and he
hell
was
no.
medicated, wasn't
No,
he?
we can't. even
but
say.
it was pain. The reversal was way
More
more
painful.
Yeah. So he's a
Okay,
trooper.
okay.
What a champ.
We're gonna go all over the place already.
Yeah.
So the reversal, what's the recovery time before then you can start trying for a baby again?
So it was
and like,
a
do you have
while
to get
ago.
tested? Like the swimmers just start swimming
Yeah.
again?
No, you get tested. So I can't remember exactly because this was like almost 10. She's going to be 10, so almost 11 years ago. You
Poor
get
buddy.
the surgery, and I think it's like a week or so, and then you have to clear the pipes.
With your hand.
Yes, like a lot, because the. My poor
I'm
husband's
dead.
going to be mortified. But the tube, it's called like the vas dermis, or so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a teeny, like the size of your hair, basically.
Yeah.
So they have to make sure it stays open because it scars really easy.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't have a 4th. It scarred over.
Yeah.
So they're cleaning the pipes, and then finally you can have sex. We got pregnant 3 months after.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
luxury of not being on birth control is getting pregnant right away.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean,
People
I was
don't talk
tracking
about that
my
enough.
cycles
Yeah.
and checking my temperature and
you're healthy.
standing on my head
Yeah.
afterwards.
So when I think when I again first was introduced, even if it was via social media,
Yeah.
the baby must have been maybe 3 years old at that point.
Yep, I think you're right.
That was 8 years ago.
I started my fitness journey after she was born, and so I think she was 7 months old when I started getting serious about fitness. I've always been athletic, but
Yeah.
she was 7 months old, and then I started personal training when she was 2 or 3.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Okay. So
Okay.
dad owns.
Yeah.
You do realty. It doesn't work out for you.
No.
You get married. You have babies.
Yeah.
There's a reversal. We have another
Yeah.
baby. Tell me everything else.
Yeah. So the doula work that I'm into and the skincare beef tallow stuff all kind of happened in a similar fashion. It's kind of how things happen in my life. The doula work, I was working with someone, a coworker at my dad's office.
I'm laughing because I'm like,
It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
It's we. It's
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Something works out and you're like, I could do this.
I could do this. Yeah. I say it's my toxic trait. If I like something, I'm going to
I
go
agree.
head first. But Mitten Ann Dix was her name. She actually, that was her maiden name, but I liked calling her that because her last name was Dix, and I thought it was funny. And her first name was Mitten.
That's
but she
cute.
was my coworker, and she got pregnant, and she's like, "Do you want to be my doula?" And I'm like, "What's that?" I didn't even know what it was. But I've always, my whole life, I think birth work is a calling. I don't think it's something that you just do because you want to. You
Yeah.
have to be called to it. It's hard, but it's also something that's so intertwined into who I am.
Yeah.
It's just easy. But I didn't know what a doula was, but I always was like, how was your birth?
Yeah.
8 years old. I
Yeah.
oh, the baby's cute, but what
What happened to you? Yeah.
I've always been like that. And so
Okay, I don't think I could be a doula, but I am always very interested in people
Yeah.
because everyone is so different.
Yes.
Do you think that her asking you to be my doula was because she knew that you had also already had that many natural births? Because you had
This was before I had kids.
Okay.
This was when I was, I think, 19.
Oh man. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So like completely naive, no idea. So she got me a bunch of books and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, sure.
Yeah, I'll deliver this baby.
And I just went head first, like fell in love. She was really scared of needles. And so I went with her to a blood draw and actually I passed out and broke my nose. So I'm like, maybe I can't be a doula. But that's the only time I've ever passed out. But that was like the beginning of my doula journey.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just like would tell people like, hey, I'm doing this. Like, and people would ask me and
okay, before
happened.
we get into deep diving, what is the difference between a midwife and a doula?
Yeah, that's important to know.
Because it's not something that you go to school for essentially. It's almost like a really badass support system.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Okay.
It's like the best support system. You don't get a degree to become a doula, but you can get certificates, which I practiced as a doula for 8 years before I finally got my certification. It's kind of like personal training.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
You can,
and you have to keep up with your education. I mean, you can or you cannot.
Yes.
But like in the state of Arizona, like I know my certificate TBH has been expired for like 3 years. And I did like an ongoing course that I haven't finished. But I continue, just because I don't have a certificate doesn't mean I don't continue learning about XYZ, hormones, women's health, all that stuff. So similar to being a doula.
Yeah, it's like a self-motivated thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So a doula does not do anything clinical. So they're not checking your blood pressure. They're not checking any of your blood work. They're not doing cervical checks. They're not like hands off in the clinical sense. But they are educational, physical, and emotional support throughout the pregnancy, during the entire birth and postpartum.
Okay.
There's a difference between birth doulas and postpartum doulas. I'm not a postpartum doula. I love babies, but not your baby.
I love
like my baby.
babies, but I don't like your baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I like her, but I'm okay with it.
Like you can take care of
yes.
her. So I'm a birth doula.
Okay.
Yeah. So I give support throughout the entire pregnancy. And then I'm there with you the moment you want me there during the birth. And then I stay a few hours postpartum.
And then you're done. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. You dip your toes into this at 19.
Mm-hmm.
By what age do you officially help like your first quote unquote client or friend or?
I think she gave birth when I was 20.
So it was you like, oh, you really went in head first.
And then working at my dad's was nice because all of the pregnant people that came in, I was just like,
hi,
pick me.
Yeah.
and
also you had flexibility because you could probably leave your dad's job to go to a birth or an appointment or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. So that first birth I attended was in the hospital with a certified nurse midwife.
Okay.
Fully natural, no drugs. It changed my life. Like I get chills just even saying it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was unreal. She's magnificent. Like it was amazing. The next birth I attended was a home birth with a certified nurse midwife, and that took me even to the next level.
You're like, if you thought that was the high, there you're like, nope, it keeps getting higher.
Yeah, and so I think I attended maybe one more birth before I ended up having Zephaniah.
Okay,
and I ended up having him at home with the midwife that was at the home.
The
birth
most recent one I think that I saw on your Instagram was your youngest daughter. That was a water birth, right?
Middle. Taya was a water birth. I was in the water with Lennon, but I didn't actually give birth in the water.
Oh my gosh,
but
I can't wait to
Taya,
ask
I gave
you.
birth in the water. Yeah.
Do you think that your sign of being a Taurus has anything to do with you being so comfortable around water?
Probably. And both of my daughters are Pisces. So I don't know.
There's something
I love the
about
water.
Same. Like, and there's very few things that like calm me. Like, if you sit me in front of the ocean, I could sit there for hours.
Same.
If you sit me next to a river creek, I can sit there for hours.
Same.
Like, it really does something to me. I've always told Ernie, again, I'm not saying what I will or won't do. I still don't know. And this is why you're on. I'm like, I'm not even pregnant yet. But I think about it and I'm like, if I did do a natural approach, I think my body would feel best in water. Like, I think I could sit there in water and push a baby out.
They call it the midwife's epidural. Like it really does. It makes you weightless. It makes you able to manage the pain if you're somebody that responds to water.
Yeah.
But
there might be someone that doesn't respond to water and there's panic.
Yeah, that doesn't respond to water. Or you might think that's who you are and you get in and you're like,
get me
it's
out.
not for me. Yeah.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So did the doula thing, had 2 babies, continued to do the doula thing. I'm still doing the doula thing. I've taken a little bit of a step back because you're on call. Like, you don't sleep for days.
Was Nikki your most recent?
No.
You had another one?
I've had, I think, 4 or 5 this year.
Oh, my goodness.
5. So that's my step back.
So just for reference, guys, we're not out here just talking about people's vaginas. We have permission.
Yes.
Nikki, who's also one of the trainers at the gym, you were her doula.
Yes.
So I saw that whole thing.
Yeah,
and
you saw the video, right?
All of it. I saw all of it. And the first time I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, like it makes me emotional right now. And I'm going to start my period. That doesn't help either. But I was like, this is insane. Like, and then I asked her, I was like, hey, can we talk about your birth? She was like, tell him everything.
I know. I asked her too. And she's like, everything. I'm like,
everything?
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
No, but we can talk more about that too. So I was the site director for the birth center for a while here for about 3-ish years and did that whole thing and got to help a ton of people and work with some of the best midwives in Tucson. It was amazing. Left there because you can't do it all. Like,
yeah,
you will
That's
learn
hard
this.
For us.
Yes, it is. But I got forced to because of my health.
Yeah.
My health was like, screw you.
Sit down.
Like, we're done.
Yeah.
So I've taken a huge step back, and my like new word of the year is no. Like I say no more than I say yes, which is so
I'm
hard
so glad
for
you
me.
said yes today.
Yeah. This felt comfortable though.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You're like, that's easy.
Yeah. Like
That's
I'm
an
just
hour.
talking. I can talk.
Yeah, I can talk forever.
Yeah. Especially about these things.
Yeah.
So when I left the birth center, I ended up starting Hathor's Hacienda, which was it's beef tallow, which what the heck, right?
We got to
like,
talk about all that.
disgusting.
Yeah, people don't know what, I mean, I always tell people, this is not even like my word of the year, but my motto this week has been people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Like in whatever it is, like whether it's relationships, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's home birth, like people just don't know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know, okay, so TBH, growing up Hispanic, like I remember hearing maybe a few people being like, oh, she did it like all natural. And like the comments after would be like, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like that hippie, why would she do that? And now I'm like, wow, a lot. I feel like now that I'm older, maybe it's just I'm in a different community where I'm hearing so much about it. And I'm like, I mean, that's not that crazy. It doesn't sound that crazy. My brother's wife they're on their third baby due like in a few weeks, and she's
Bonnie.
Bonnie,
I love her. Yeah.
She's coming on the podcast in
Is
December.
she?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So she's done all natural births, and like at first I was like, that's fucking insane. Like, why would you put yourself through that pain? And I've always thought, probably up until maybe this year, I was always like, if I don't have to endure the pain, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like stick a needle in my back. Let's fucking go. Let's push this baby out and be done. And now I'm on like natural birth TikTok and natural birth podcast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the things people say about like the evolution of women was never supposed to be a medicated birth.
They stole our power.
It kind of did. We're gonna cut to a really quick break, and then we're gonna dive right back in.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
There is a lot of digital marketing and digital advertising agencies throughout the US. I see a new one pop up every day. But we stand out because of our community impact, our client relationships, delivering and doing what we say. That's a key thing, right? A lot of places will tell you, hey, we're going to do this. They don't communicate to you. We're in communication with you. You're going to always get that real small business feel from us. You're going to have ways to contact us, ask us questions. right? Because we want you to do better, but we want to be better every day as well. And we're always innovating. We're always coming up with new ideas, new ways to win, applying for new platforms, and even creating some of our own platforms is some of the stuff we have going forward. So I would say that's what sets us apart.
All right, we're back. So, leaving off, like I said, people don't know what they don't know. So I think it's important to have people like you to come on and talk about these things to broaden people's mindset. So tell us a little bit about beef tallow. So you take a step back from being a doula, and then you go right into, I'm going to make skincare to occupy my time.
Yeah. So I actually do doula work now with a partner. Her name's Ashley Garrett, and she worked with me at the birth center.
Okay.
And for Christmas a few years ago, she gave me beef tallow, and I was like, gross.
Yeah.
What is this? And she's like, you don't know what beef tallow is? Like, I always say this, you're
Also,
not a
and
hippie.
your skin is amazing.
All I use is beef tallow. I wash my face with it. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Tell us what it is first, and then I have a billion questions. I've been using it, but I want to make sure I've been using it right.
Yeah. So she gifted it to me for Christmas. I started using it, and my skin transformed like immediately. And I have had problem skin probably since I was like 17, like cystic acne.
Yeah.
Like just, when your skin's just like yuck, like it just wasn't
irritated.
Yeah. And so it immediately fixed it, which I was like, oh, because how sometimes you start using stuff and they're like, oh, it's purging. Like it's getting worse because it's purging. I'm like,
I hate that. Oh my gosh. I had a skincare journey of my own too, but it was also very hormonal and very stress driven.
Yeah.
And I felt like I would share my story so people would be like, look, I'm insecure about some shit. My skin is some of that. And then I hated when people would be like, did you try this? Did you try that? And I'm like, bitch, I tried everything. And yes, no, I don't like that it's purging, or like if I would do a facial and then my face was like red because they already went in and like extracted everything. Like, so that's like really frustrating.
Yeah. This was the first thing that like an immediate, like especially
reduce
the
the inflammation.
Like the next day I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so my toxic trait, like I just want to make things myself.
And I want to learn everything.
Yeah. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to make it myself. So I started making it myself, started giving it to friends. And then I was like, maybe I'll sell some. Like, kind of like a side hustle. I didn't know at that time I was going to be leaving the birth center either. And so I feel like God just like worked all that timing out.
He's like, here you go.
Yeah. And so I think
occupy yourself over here.
Yeah. So the month before I left the birth center, I kind of launched it, like soft launch with friends and family.
What year was that?
That was last year.
Yeah.
No,
like 2 years ago.
Yeah. What are we?
2024. So yeah,
I don't
2
know.
years roughly.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah. And yeah, it just went from there.
Yeah.
And now I have a business.
You're like, we just started a website and everything.
Yeah. And initially I wasn't rendering the tallow myself, and we can talk about that whole process. So I've like just started progressively adding more products and like getting more meticulous in my craft. Like I do everything myself now.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so tell us about the beef tallow. Rendering, what were you doing before? Then it again transitioned to, it was like your company now, so you render all the beef tallow. It's local, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's super important with beef tallow because it's kind of becoming mainstream now.
Yes.
When you're shopping for beef tallow, you want grass-fed and finished tallow.
Tell people what beef tallow is, because people don't know what it is.
It's straight up cow fat. Like,
yeah, that's it. It's cow fat.
So there's adipose tissue fat, which is like, the surface fat, and then there's visceral fat. This is
Around
more of the visceral fat. It's
around the
specifically,
organs.
Yeah, around their kidneys, the cow's kidneys. So it's the kidney fat. It's called beef suet or suet. People say it all different ways, but that's how I say it. And so it's really hard. It's not like soft fat. It's like I have to like chop it. Yeah. And so I get that and I chop it into little bits and I stick it in like a slow roaster.
Okay.
And I just melt it down. And then I strain it.
Okay, hold on. I've got so many questions. So you just call up a farmer and you're like, hey, I'm going to need your fattest cow.
No.
I'm confused.
Yeah. So normally it's like a waste product. Like they'll just throw it away. But beef tallow. Yeah. Beef tallow has been used for thousands and thousands of years. Like it dates back to the Egyptians.
Okay.
Like, and they're like all about skincare, right? But it kind of got lost at some point in history because we started using like petroleum products and things like that. So yeah, I met the farmer I use at the birth center I worked at.
Okay.
So I already knew they were doing this, and I'm like, hey,
Can I have your
can I buy it in
tallow?
bulk? And he
Yeah.
was like, yeah. So it's Chiricahua Pasture Raised Meats is the family farm. And
In Tucson or
it's
like
in the Chiricahuas.
Okay.
I think
I have no
St.
idea where that
David.
is.
It's just south of us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they have sheep, they have cows, they have chickens, they have pigs.
And you only use the cow.
I only use the cow.
Okay.
There are lard is a people use that for skincare too, but I
Yeah.
don't do that. But yeah, they sell all of the things. So if you're looking for really quality, well
Meat?
taken care of cows, whatever meat, yes, it's like we order all of our meat from
Okay,
them.
cool,
It's
cool.
fantastic. But I get the suet from them, and then I chop it into bits, stick it in the slow roaster, melt it down, and then you stick it in the fridge, and it solidifies.
It hardens.
And I do a wet render. So there's different types of rendering, but I do a wet render. So at the bottom, there's salt water and it pulls the impurities down.
Okay.
So then I'll take out the hardened part and I'll scrape off the impurities. And then I'll do that like 3 or 4 times.
To get rid of all the excess, whatever it is.
Yeah. And there's like different frames of thought, but I want clean tallow. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want stinky tallow. So,
Yeah, and I will say like that's the one thing I don't know like what the evolution has been of it, but when I think of like cow fat, I'm like, am I about to smell like a cow on my face?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
No. Yeah. So originally I was buying the tallow already rendered and then just making my products from there.
So adding your essential oils or
Yeah.
whatever.
But I wanted more control. I wanted to know where it was coming from. I wanted it to be local.
Yeah.
You know, I have high standards.
Yeah,
So
I like that though. That's what makes the product so great.
Yeah.
So you have the beef tallow, you have the lip. It's like a lip balm.
Yeah, lip
and then the
balms.
magnesium spray.
yeah.
And the beef tallow, you have it in a few different scents.
It's
Or
it's pretty much the
flavors.
base of everything except the magnesium spray,
Okay, cool,
obviously.
cool.
But yeah, all of them are based with beef tallow, and then they have different other oils like rosehip seed oil. I use castor oil. Jojoba
Okay.
is a big one.
All good oils to use.
Yeah, and they're all organic. You know,
So I keep tapping myself because I'm like, I know what I'm going to talk about. I really like
cowboy coffee.
I love the cowboy coffee.
That's the one I use
So
almost
I
every day.
really do like the tallow, and I've been using it every night. I do, and correct me, whatever way you think is better, but I do cleanser, toner, I do a few of my other serums, and then I go in with the tallow around my face, and then
Perfect.
last night I switched to a different eye cream, but in the morning I'm doing the cowboy, and I love it.
Yeah, that's
I do love it.
perfect.
I just recently, you said you're like, oh, I have gray hair, and I'm so excited. I am not excited that I have like these really tiny under eye wrinkles, and I will say like my family doesn't have the best skin,
Yeah.
so I'm like I gotta like really take care of my skin. But I started putting it on, so I'm hoping that like it's just gonna take all my little wrinkles away.
It's super high in fatty acids, and grass-fed and finished is specifically high in omega-3, which is like the good one.
Okay.
It has omega-6 in it too, but you don't want too much of that one because it can be inflammatory. I don't know.
Yeah, there's gotta be like a little balance.
Yeah, and so I think that that's what does it because it creates like a really healthy skin barrier because it kind of locks everything in.
And I love how it feels. Like it's almost moussey. I
Yeah.
don't know how to like.
It's whipped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's whipped. So when I put it on and like it dissolves in, it's like the perfect little like glow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that feels good.
And you're not greasy. Like I'm not.
No.
I'm not greasy.
She's like, look, I'm not greasy. Do you? So you said you cleanse with it too.
Yeah, I oil cleanse with it. So,
So
like,
you have an oil.
no, I just use the whip. Like, yeah.
So you use the whip, you put it all over your face, then rinse off, wipe off,
Yeah.
and then you put another layer of the tallow on.
So I'll put it on thick, you know, and like
And,
get
like,
my
get all the
mascara off,
makeup
everything,
off.
and I'll take a warm, wet washcloth and just it melts right off.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I have like a lot of makeup on, which I normally don't these
Yeah.
days, I'll do it twice.
Yeah.
But it takes it right off, and my skin is clean. Like
Yeah.
I can take a white washcloth and wipe it again, and there's,
there's
nothing,
nothing.
there, and it like tightens my pores and everything. And then I'll put more tallow on just to moisturize.
Have you seen a lot of good things with pores? Because I have really big pores.
I used to have huge pores.
Okay, cool.
My pores aren't huge.
You got none. There's
And I barely have
porcelain.
any makeup on. Like
Yeah.
I used to have to cake it on because my skin was so ugh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's crazy. I think that it's probably really cool to see the evolution of your product and be like, look at my skin.
Yeah.
It
I
works.
wish I would have taken before and afters because it was really dramatic.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
I also will say the first time that I did have your tallow was when I was struggling with
Yeah.
acne. So I was at that point I was scared to use anything.
Totally.
Yeah. And then this
Yeah.
time around I'm like, I'll slap that bad boy on.
No, it is scary.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how you're going to react.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your own birthing experience, switching over back to births. So did you do all natural birth, but did you do all at-home natural birth?
So no, my first I did at home with a certified nurse midwife. And we can talk specifically about that birth because that one was long. And I know you want to talk about long births.
Okay. So what I've learned, long labor.
Yeah, real long.
It's good.
It was good. My second one, I started with the same home birth midwife, and things got a little weird. My care was different, and this is something I want to talk about too, if we can. Like, my care was different. I was feeling something. Like,
was this about the scandal that I heard recently about this like birthing center, or like it is, huh?
No, this is way before that, but
we can also talk about that. Okay, cool.
That's quite a mess. But I ended up like the beginning of my third trimester kind of confronting my midwife and being like, look, I love you. Like,
something's
what's
off.
going on? And she dismissed me from care. She ended up passing away a year later, and there was like some stuff that came out and was, she was going through it.
Yeah.
So it was my intuition, which is so important, and that's what I preach. Like, you have to learn how to tap into your intuition.
Yeah.
I vibe with Jesus, so it's like the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
But
I love that. I vibe with Jesus.
So she ended up dismissing me, and I freaked out. It was horrible. I was
Third
terrified.
trimester.
Yeah. And I ended up getting into a different birth center that used to be here off of Wyatt. So I had Taya there, water birth, with a certified nurse midwife. And it's very home-like.
Yeah.
I might as well have been a home. Like, it looked like a bedroom.
I've also heard that TMC's birthing center, I think it's the only hospital that has like a woman's birthing center where it almost looks like a hotel room.
Yes.
And then in case of emergencies and they take you over, I think, if I'm not confused, that's where Bonnie gave birth the first time. I think it was TMC.
I think so.
Yeah.
She might have done it twice, actually.
I think so too. You could be right.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right. But so this was completely detached from the hospital. The one at TMC now is inside the hospital.
In
There's
case
two
of
rooms.
emergencies, they just take you right on over.
Fantastic option.
Yeah.
And then with Lennon, I ended up going to the same birth center, but it was a different location.
Okay.
Excellent experiences. Yeah.
And was that all 4?
3. Mm-hmm.
3.
3 babies.
And then the last one.
All 3. That's just 3.
Why do I keep thinking 4?
Because I wanted 4.
Oh, you said
I didn't
4.
get my 4th.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
You're like, we got a dog instead.
Yeah, 2 dogs. Yeah.
And of all 3, which one, I don't think you could probably say that one was easier, but do you feel like the first one compared to the third one, like third time around, you're like, I know exactly what to expect.
My son tried to kill me. Like, it was hard. I had to work hard for him. I was 22 or 23, young, very ignorantly confident because I've been a doula. I've seen it. Like, I can do this. Like, I wasn't scared of nothing.
At all.
But it was difficult. I was on bed rest for 5 weeks before because I went into preterm labor around 30, 31 weeks. And you shouldn't deliver at home until you're about 36, 37 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I hear 37 is often like the safety
it's
marker.
like, you want the baby to cook. Yeah. And so I had been contracting since then. Like,
oh, man.
That whole time. Like, and I had to sit on my butt. I couldn't be active, which was like a huge mind game for me. We moved the day I went on bed rest to a new house. So I had to like watch everybody move my house and sit next to all these boxes.
And have no control.
Yeah.
Which is the death of you and me when you're looking at somebody, you're like, that doesn't go there.
Well, and I'm having a home birth and I can't get my home ready to
for
give
my birth.
Like, it was terrible. My grandma, so my mom's mom had been battling ovarian cancer for a while, and she ended up declining super fast, and she passed away on a Tuesday. I had just gotten off bed rest, and her funeral was that Friday. I went into labor Thursday night, the day my mom left for the funeral.
Oh, my gosh.
So it turned into this whole, like, emotional... like
because then you're like, I don't have my mom either.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So I went into labor Thursday night at 10 and labored by myself the whole night because I was literally sitting on the toilet, like, willing my body to stop. Like, this can't be happening. Like, I don't want to have to call my mom. And it's her first grandbaby. Like, it was not.
Did you call her?
I did. I didn't call her until the morning. I woke up my husband finally at like 4 or 5 in the morning and was like, it's happening. He's like, for real? Because, I had been like laboring for weeks at this point. So
you're like, for real? For real? Yeah. I can feel it.
I'm like, no, it's happening. And so we called the midwife and she came out and checked me and she's like, oh yeah, it's happening. I think I was like a 4. So I labored all night.
Man.
and I only got into a 4. And I was like, oof, this is
going to be a long one.
So I called my mom, and she got on the first flight. But then I'm like still waiting for her.
Yeah.
So it was this kind of mind game. But I didn't end up having him until 10 o'clock Friday night. So a full 24 hours of active labor. And it was
rough.
Yeah. My midwife was like, I went through my bag of tricks like 3 times with you. She's like, I knew if I took you to the hospital, they were going to section you.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't have the patience.
C-section? Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a gazillion questions. Did you have your mom at every birth?
Yeah, she was there for every single one. I don't think she was in the room with Lennon. Taylor and I really wanted it to be intimate. It was like our, miracle baby. I think the only people in the room were my husband, the midwives, my best friend Stephanie, who was also a nurse at the birth center, and then my son.
Yeah.
My daughter Taya was like, no,
I'm
thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Like, she's a little
she's like,
traumatized.
honey.
She's like, I'm never doing that. So
Your son was in there?
he was there for both of his sisters.
No way.
Yeah.
And what did he think?
He was the best.
He was like, this is amazing.
Take deep breaths, mommy.
Oh my
Take deep breaths.
gosh.
He was like, I have pictures of him like rubbing my hair. My hair. He's this, and he is like, if you meet him,
You're like, that makes
everybody who
perfect
knows
sense.
Zephaniah knows. He's like
so sweet.
the best.
Yeah.
Especially with women, he just gets it. Like some teenage boys are like
That comes from you though.
breastfeeding. Like,
Yeah,
he's
ew.
like,
that's
oh,
so
good
cool.
job.
Good
You're
job.
doing so good.
Your ducks are all in a line. You're not your pipes aren't clogged.
He's so
Good work.
He's amazing. Yeah, he was awesome. But I think it's important if you can have siblings there, because then it's not like you go away and have
And
a
then you
baby
come
and
back with a
bring home
baby.
with this new person.
Yeah.
It really does. There's like studies that it reduces sibling rivalry and jealousy and everything.
Wow.
Like we never dealt with that.
Yeah, my brothers probably need to see me come out of my mom's vagina.
They would respect your mom more.
And they would respect
love
me
you.
more.
Yeah.
They tell me that the milkman dropped me off.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? My mom left, got with the milkman, and then,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So do you think, I mean, I've heard, again, so many podcasts because I'm in a loophole with like pregnancy stuff, but do you think it's beneficial to have, obviously the people you care about, your husband, that's such an intimate moment, but in the Hispanic culture, it's very much like your mother-in-law, your mom, your sister, and I just don't know that that's what I would want. Like, I love my mother-in-law, I love my sister, but I feel like it's not a place where things can be chaotic, and I feel like you need the people that are just really gonna
You
simmer you
absolutely
down.
need to surround yourself with supportive people, and the energy
Needs to be
that
good.
you need.
Yeah.
I think it was like 15 people in the room when I had Zephaniah. Like literally my brother, my sister, my sister-in-law, my in-laws, my parent, like everybody. My dog, my Great Dane was in there.
Are you serious?
Everybody was there. I didn't see one person. When
No,
you
you're
hit,
so zoned in.
Yeah, when you hit transition, like they call it labor land. Like you go somewhere else. Like you're not on this earth anymore.
Yeah, you're in so much pain. I feel like, and that's the thing, like versus medicated. I'm not crossing you if you've medicated. Like, good for you. That's your choice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But I've heard that there's so much more emotional and physical connection when you're doing child birth
and it's
naturally.
not necessarily the pain that takes you to like labor land. It's literally the hormonal cocktail that's happening within your body to deal
with getting this baby out.
Getting the baby out. Like your body has the mechanisms. Like it literally, there's this cascade that happens. So oxytocin is the natural form of Pitocin. So when they induce you, sometimes they give you Pitocin.
Yeah.
Oxytocin is what like helps contractions.
Yeah.
So you release the oxytocin, you have a contraction, and then the endorphins hit. And then your body's like, oh, my body needs a break. So you have the endorphins that help with the pain, and then you get that little rest, and the oxytocin hits again. Like there's this whole cascade that happens.
It's like a freaking formula.
Yeah, but when you have Pitocin and it's just being like shot into your veins, your body can't register that like, oh, we need a break. You don't get a break.
Yeah.
And so
it's almost like there's no connection to the mind and the body at that point.
100%.
Oh my
100%.
goodness.
Yeah. So it's sometimes the pain, like the endorphins get so high that you just go into this like I think you're going, like it's almost like you're touching heaven.
Yeah.
Like you're getting your baby
right
from
there.
God
Yeah.
and bringing it down. Like
Yeah.
you
That is
don't,
so beautiful.
Yeah. You don't see, I didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
And then I think with our second, we still had a ton of people in the room.
Yeah.
But then with the third, we
It
just
was a
had,
little bit more intimate.
Yeah. You know,
This is my theory, and again, also things that I've heard, but I'm like, it makes sense. So when women are birthing, like in a hospital, their legs up and the canal is going down and up, right? So baby has to come down and come up. Wouldn't it make more sense to like turn us around like Nikki? Like before I even saw Nikki's birth, I was like, in my head, if I'm on all fours and I'm pushing my hips out, like into like a, what is it? Not downward dog, freaking child's pose. The baby slipped right out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes a huge difference to not be on your back.
Did you birth on all fours, like, or was all different for everything?
It was all different for, I think I was on my side. I was on the bed on my side for Zephaniah. I was sitting, like, semi-squatting in a tub with Taya. And Lennon, I think I was on my back.
Yeah.
But Lennon came out in one push. He was
like,
we're out.
I'm out.
Yeah. But I've seen so many times gravity is, like, key. Because if you're using gravity, it's helping you not use as much energy to actually push. Like, I've seen babies come out just by the fetal ejection reflex. Like, the woman's not
even pushing.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Your body pushes. Yeah. And that's something that people, you know, I know you wanted to talk about, like, well, what if you're really scared to do this? And we can
that was my next question was like, do you think that anybody could do a natural birth?
No.
Okay. And why?
Let me rephrase that. Yes, I think anybody can if they want to. If you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah.
That
part.
Yeah.
That's important.
It's so important. Like, the whole thing for women is my philosophy as a doula and as a woman who's given birth. I believe that the most important thing is that you know you have choices. You should be given informed consent. You should be given the risks and benefits in detail, not just like, oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be like, oh, no, nothing will happen.
And the thing is, and that part of, one, learning how to advocate for yourself so you can get those resources. And two, understanding that it may not be for you and that's okay.
Yeah.
The same way that natural birth is beautiful, like birth medicated is still beautiful. You're still going to get your baby.
Oh my gosh.
And you're not getting a trophy and neither is this person. Like you get a baby. That's your trophy.
Getting an epidural, getting a cesarean section, that's the bravest thing. Like, you want to stick a needle in my back, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm terrified. Like, that scares me more than pushing a baby out.
And no one can tell you it differently.
No, like, I'm like, you got your body cut open through 7 different layers to have your baby. You should get a freaking award. Like, that's amazing.
I think that's the thing is, like, we try to, everything that we do is like, it has to, something's better than the rest.
And that's not true.
Okay, one more break and then we're going to whop out with some more baby stuff.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with a tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
There is a lot of digital marketing and digital advertising agencies throughout the US. I see a new one pop up every day. But we stand out because of our community impact, our client relationships, delivering and doing what we say. That's a key thing, right? A lot of places will tell you, hey, we're going to do this. They don't communicate to you. We're in communication with you. You're going to always get that real small business feel from us. You're going to have ways to contact us, ask us questions, right? Because we want you to do better, but we want to be better every day as well. And we're always innovating. We're always coming up with new ideas, new ways to win, applying for new platforms. and even creating some of our own platforms is some of the stuff we have going forward. So I would say that's what sets us apart.
Okay. All right. So going back, I think what I was saying is like people want to make something better than something else. And I think that they forget that it's not necessarily better. It's whatever's better for you.
Yeah. You need to give birth where you feel safe.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. Like, if you don't feel safe at home, don't have your baby at home.
Yeah.
Like, that's the easy answer. If you feel safer in the hospital. But you need to understand that there's options, there's risks, and there's benefits
For
to
both.
every choice you make.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get induced. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about what that could look like.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's going to go seamlessly, or maybe these things could possibly happen.
And that's essentially also the kind of support that you provide.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Hire a doula. Like,
Yeah.
So if we're talking about fear, like if somebody's scared to have a natural childbirth or just to have a baby in general, because like
That
it's
does exist.
crazy.
There are people
I
that are
gotta
scared.
chime in on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chime.
Yeah. So, wife and I, the first kid we had, we didn't have a doula or anything, and it seemed like the kind of standard thing to do was to go to C-section, right? Like, just I don't know why.
I have a
that
question
felt
though. Was
wide.
that because she labored for a really long time?
Yeah.
How long?
13 hours.
That's
And that's not a long time.
That's not a long time. Okay.
No.
All right. So, anyways, it just there wasn't a lot of information like you were talking about, Shilo, or like going and getting information and stuff like that. And I don't want to get in trouble with her and give too many details about stuff. But we ended up hiring a doula for the second child, and the information we were provided was
Out of this world.
so valuable, and it changed our whole experience. The second one.
Yeah.
I won't get into details or anything like that, but there wasn't a C-section or anything. It was just all around just amazing. So I would have to tell, dudes, with your wife or, whatever's going on in your relationship, however you guys want to title it, whatever, give the ladies a chance to do that and explore and make them feel comfortable with it, and make sure you're there with them through that process and just listen, because the best thing I did in that whole situation as a dude was learn and listen and support, and it paid off so much for everybody involved.
That's awesome.
So,
because you guys felt empowered.
right, yeah, actually,
You had somebody in your corner that made you feel empowered.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My
And
wife
allowed you to ask questions.
she was so empowered, and she felt so strong about everything she was doing. And there was so much confidence, and there was no hesitation.
Yeah.
She
And
called the shots on everything.
I've
Just
heard that
nope.
so many times, and this is again similar conversation that I had with Julia last week. Our guest is like, again, people don't know what they don't know, and when you're given the decision or like the idea of a C-section or a medicated birth or an epidural or your Pitocin or whatever that is, they just tell you, and you don't even know that you have the option to be like, I don't want to go that route. What's our second option? The other thing that I listened to this really good podcast. I'll have to send it to you, but it was about this lady who did, she was a midwife, and she did medical school for a long time first before she became like the natural approach style, like midwife. And she was talking about how like, you're on the hospital's dime, money.
Yeah.
Like right here, like they want you in and out. So 13 hours is not a lot, but for them, 13 hours is a lot of time. That's 13 hours that they could potentially have the next person in line to birth a baby.
Yep.
Bill that baby, bill that
Totally.
person. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely. It's a business.
Yeah, it is a business.
Yeah.
Everything in the United States is a business. Like, and I think people forget that part, and it's important. It's important. But I do hear that second time moms, it's like the first time they do it and they're like, oh no, we're not doing that shit again.
Yeah.
Like we did that all wrong. But this is why we have these conversations, because whoever's listening now will have an idea, send it to a friend, whatever, and then say, you have options.
Yeah.
And you can still do a medicated birth, but you can still
Absolutely.
have a doula. You can still try to not have the Pitocin or whatever that is to fast track the labor, whatever that
absolutely.
may be.
And that's why I'm a huge advocate for midwifery care, because generally speaking, not all, but generally speaking, midwives are more patient. Like they know physiological birth takes a different amount of time for each person, for each baby. Like my first labor it felt like a month because I went into preterm labor. But my second one, I got to the birth center at 9:45 and baby was out at 11:20.
You're like, let's go.
And I didn't even think it was serious. I was like, she's gonna send me home.
So when a client, or do you call them clients?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when a client calls you and they're feeling their labor pains and they're like close to they're on their due date, past their due date. At what point, say someone decided to go, they're going to the hospital, you're still coming with them to the hospital. At what point do you say go to the hospital? Because we talk about long labor, but if it's your first time having a baby, you don't know the difference between contracting at 2 and contracting at 7.
Yep.
So pain is pain. So how do you decide that? Is that like by person, per person basis?
If you have a doula, we are trained. Like,
yeah, we know.
We know. Like, that's honestly like one of the things I'll have an ego about with doula work. I'm like, no, we
know.
can wait till the last minute because I can tell you when to go. Like,
Yeah.
we won't have a car baby. I've only had 2 car babies in my 20 years of being a doula.
That's kind of cool.
And I did not have anything to do with either of those. So anyways, but take a childbirth education class because they will tell you the signs. Like everybody thinks you have to have a cervical check and know your dilation and effacement to know where you are in labor.
I read this too.
It's not stinking true. Like there are different emotional and physical signs
cues
that happen that, oh, she's in early labor. Oh, she's in active labor.
Okay, tell me them. So I know.
So early labor, you're getting contractions. They may or may not, have a consistent pattern, but you're like noticing them.
Ooh.
That is the time you need to be distracted.
That kind of feels like my vagina right now.
You would probably have that natural birth very easily if you have bad cramps.
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and so early labor, you're kind of like, you might lose your mucus plug. Your water might break even. Sometimes your water breaks and you don't have contractions. That's okay. It's okay. You don't need to rush anything. Just don't stick anything up your vagina if your water's broken because that's how bacteria gets in there.
Don't have sex.
Yeah, I mean, if you're,
Bacteria, Shilo. What do you mean? I mean, wash it off.
Yeah.
Wash your
If
winker.
your water is not broken, you can absolutely have sex
and break
in
your
labor.
water?
Well, sometimes it can break your water, but like you can have sex in labor.
Imagine the kids like, Dad, what are you doing?
It can get things going, like if you're stalled.
I've heard of that. It can get it going.
Or a nipple stimulation.
Yeah.
Or just like being intimate with your partner.
Yeah.
Releases oxytocin, which makes contractions.
Yeah.
But early labor, things are just kind of like possibly spotty.
They're feeling. Yeah. You're like, okay.
Then there's the active labor phase where the contractions are getting maybe a little bit closer together. You might have to start focusing on them. So if you're still able to talk through your contraction, you're probably still in early labor.
Okay.
But active labor, you're starting to get a little bit more serious. Like you might have to pause and then you can talk in between the contractions.
Okay.
Then there's transition. Transition is when things get serious. That's typically the shortest part of the labor, but it's like more intense.
Yeah.
That's when the baby is imminent, right?
Yeah.
So you're not talking. You might not talk to anybody in the room. You might not see anybody in the room. You're fully in labor land.
Too.
As a doula, when people start like hiccuping and burping, that's how I know they're getting close to transition. That's crazy. The last birth we were at, she started hiccuping and burping. And I'm like, oh,
it's time.
Like, why are you excited? I'm like, because you're going to be in transition soon. She was like, and she was like 30 minutes later, the baby was out.
How?
So transition things are serious. Things are like, intense. I'd say contractions are closer together. You're not talking. Sometimes people are very vocal.
About pain?
You know how as a personal trainer, some people are like really loud lifting weights and then there's the silent people? It's the same exact thing for labor. Like I can tell by training somebody lifting weights what kind of birther they would be.
Oh, I'd be a good birther then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've also, and I've heard this term too, and when I talked to Nikki, getting into a little bit of Nikki's birth, is I remember asking her like, at what point do you feel like it was time? She goes, I just had like this sudden urge, and she, very Arizona of her, was like to bear the fuck down.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? And she goes, I don't know how to explain it, but like everything in your body is telling you like, hold on, bitch.
Yeah.
Like it's about to be a wild ride. I'm like, oh my, like
and
that
when
is
you're
insane.
unmedicated, you can feel that.
Yeah.
When you're medicated, you
can't.
don't necessarily.
Because people can't even feel their legs. So how are they supposed to feel? That's crazy. I didn't witness my first home birth until last year.
Really?
My first birth ever.
Really?
At almost 30 years old last year.
How was it?
It was beautiful. It was medicated. I mean, I think, I cried. Like I'm like a giggler crier.
Yeah.
So like you can hear me in the video where I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like laughing and then you can hear me like cry. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. But
isn't it insane how there's like, let's say 4 souls in the room and then all of a sudden there's 5 and you're like,
yeah, you're like, what is happening here? It was wild.
That's crazy.
It was cool.
So Nikki's birth was a free birth.
Yes.
So that's like a whole different thing we haven't even talked about.
Okay, let's talk about that. We've got like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm so scared.
So and that was the first free birth I had attended as a doula.
You told me that it was like one of the ones that also really like
it transformed
changed you.
me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Oh man, no, we've really stolen the
I
power.
also want to talk about like watching her birth. There was so much emotional connection, and I think like obviously she did the work. Like
She did
holy
everything.
shit, she did everything. I do want to highlight like her partner in that.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I don't know if Ernie could. I don't know if he could do it.
He could. You should have him on sometime. You should have both of them on and have him tell you how he felt in those moments, because he told us at their postpartum visit, and Ashley, my partner, and I
Started
were both
crying.
sobbing. Like,
Yeah.
I have never witnessed a man support his woman
That way.
as beautifully as he did.
Like, and I've seen like clips and stuff after of him like pressing on her fucking hips, like with all, like you could see the veins coming out of his, like just trying to deteriorate the pain. And like, Nikki, no, I'm like, Nikki, you're a fucking hippie. Like that girl was running around her house completely naked. She did not give a rat's ass. She's like, let's get this baby
but that's
out.
how it should be.
Yeah. I mean, the
should feel
evolution of
comfortable.
women was never, let's put me in a hospital gown, you know, like that's, and I get it. Some people go that route. There's nothing wrong with that, but I
Everybody-
wasn't there,
Yeah.
but I was like, holy
You felt it
shit.
still.
Yeah. I was like it was amazing.
Everybody in that room fully gave her all of the power.
Yeah.
And that was the first birth I had ever attended where that happened fully.
Yeah.
Because
Because you guys were hands off completely.
Oh, completely. I mean, we were giving our doula support, so
Yeah.
like hip squeezes and massage
Breathing and
words of encouragement,
Yeah.
things like that. But she never had a cervical check. She never had fetal heart tones
She knew.
done.
She
Nothing.
knew exactly what was
just
happening.
trusted her body
Yeah.
and just did it. Like,
yeah, that's insane.
it was unreal.
What do you think? We have to wrap up, and it makes me sad. But we're don't cue the music yet, David. Give me a second. What would be like your biggest tips? We'll do a couple.
Yeah.
Your biggest tip for somebody that might be thinking about a natural birth.
I think just in general, no matter what kind of birth you're hoping
Yeah.
to have, hire a doula.
No matter what.
No matter what, because
If you can afford it, hire a doula.
well, there's lots of free resources. You can
Okay.
get a free doula too. And I
Oh,
can like
I
give
didn't
you
know that.
links to
Yeah.
put in the comments and stuff. But there's absolutely different programs in Tucson and surrounding areas that you can get a free doula. Get a doula because
Okay.
they're going to support you 100%. They're going to be your birth BFF. They're going to give you information that you might not get from the doctors because your appointment with the OBs are like 5 minutes
I was
long.
going to say like 5 minutes long.
It's stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
you're like in and out. Is baby okay? Good. You're feeling all right? Yeah.
it's not
You getting some
supposed to be
sleep?
that way. Midwifery care is better in that. But hire a doula and take a childbirth education class.
Okay, and if you could give a couple tips on this is my I mean I want to go into it because I feel like it's picking at my brain, but breathing during birth because I feel like like in the movies we see women are like
Yeah.
like and it's not like that.
No.
I've heard low and like controlled, like everything from like your belly. Like it should never be like high tone. Everything should be very like
Yeah, because if you think high, you're tightening, things are going up. You want everything to go down. So you want low and down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, breathing, if you're not already pregnant,
yeah.
learn how to connect with your body. And I think fitness is the best way to do that. Whether it's yoga, Pilates, lifting weights, you have to connect with your body
Yeah.
and you have to learn how to trust your body.
I
That's
purposely
so
got
huge.
off of my I took off my iWatch.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to
Just know.
it's making me pay attention.
Yeah.
Like it's making me pay attention to like how hard I'm breathing when I'm walking. Like I don't need like I've relied on it for so long and now I'm like it feels kind of good. Okay.
Well, and that's why I'm sorry. I know you have to
no,
wrap up,
go
but
ahead.
that's
Tell
why
me, tell
I'm
me, tell
so
me.
glad you posted those stories about starting your period and how
Yeah.
we need to do better with our daughters. That is the start of it.
Yeah.
If we're not teaching women young to
They're
learn
not
how to
in tune
trust
with
their
their
body
body.
or know their bodies and what's happening to their body,
this is a whole ass cycle because then the
Yes.
girls start their birth control early and then that
Yes.
takes away their ovulation. They're not doing all the things and they're not in
Yes.
tune with their bodies.
Yes.
One last question.
yes,
Do you think I could have a natural?
yes, 100%.
I didn't even finish the question.
100%.
You're like,
could do
yes,
it.
you can.
You could do it. Absolutely.
All right. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay, IG is at Hathor's Hacienda. Or Mama Shy. That's just more like my personal whatever. And then my website is hathorshacienda.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming
Yes,
on.
thanks for
That was
having me.
wonderful. I think we're going to have you come back.
Okay.
You guys know where to find me, allthings.GP Soto on Instagram. Don't forget to check out our merch. Don't forget to send it to a friend. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to do all the other things that make this better. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.